Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tea and Crystals podcast. I am T.
And I'm Crystal.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so happy to have you all back for another week of hilarious antic stories. We finna get into some things this week that I'm excited for. But before we do that, Crystal, you already know I'm gonna ask, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. And I'm really excited because this is actually our 10th episode.
10 things.
I know. It seems like such a small number compared to like maybe, the bigger places are. But I mean, this is 10. This is number 10. So I'm really excited about it. It's, and compared to, just the first day that we, started this all together, but then just the first day of when we started posting, like September 1st. It's wild just how far we've come in that amount of time.
And if people knew, like, you and I, the inception of this podcast literally started at the top of the year. I think it was right after New Year's.
Yeah.
That we had a conversation and we were just sitting on the couch and we was like, we should record, because I had it in my mind, the year prior that I wanted to do something. I knew I wanted to do some type of podcasty type thing, but I didn't know what.
Yeah.
And then when you and I had that conversation and we brought it up, and we were both like, yes, we should do that. But I really appreciate the fact that we took several months.
Yes.
Both because, we were both busy, so it wasn't really possible to, solidify anything in time.
Yeah.
But we really took the time to get this thing together, to make it look a certain way, our banter to flow a certain way, the topics that we were going to bring to the table and stuff. So I'm excited that, 10 episodes in. It's rolling.
Even though we did take several months practicing and stuff like that, I mean, even once we started posting, we're still learning things and we're still switching things up and we're still adjusting. We're getting feedback from actual audience people and listeners about what they like, what they don't really like. And we've tried adjusting so that, the overall feel of it ends up being what people generally like to hear and listen to. So I'm really excited about it. Our shorts have been doing really well. I'm kind of figuring out the whole social media stuff. I'm not a social media savvy person at all, but we're getting some little tractions on our sneak peeks and stuff like that, which is exciting. So yeah, overall, so far.
I'm really excited that y'all are interacting with everything. Like it brings me so much more. It brings me so much joy. I won't say more joy, but it brings me a lot of joy to see, audience members interacting with each other in the comments, really having the dialogue and stuff, and, expanding upon the topics that we bring. Like it's so exciting. So I'm just hoping for more and more of that, don't, because people be, when we post our own personal stories and stuff, people be in the DMs, people be liking and stuff and letting me know on the side. Say it out loud. It's okay.
Yeah.
There is nothing. This is for entertainment purposes. If you find us entertaining, if we bring a little light to the end of the week or the beginning of the week, depending on when you listen to it, share it with people. Let people know that you're having a good time. Because, I listen, I'm not your side bitch. You don't have to hide me. Okay? I'm not going to offend your baby mama, your baby daddy.
You're right.
Well, I might offend your baby daddy. But all in all, we are a good time. Share us with people that help spread the platform. The more we grow, the more we can do, the more we can entertain y'all. So
yeah. And even though me and you do these conversations, doing these episodes, my mom will sit there and listen to the episode, and even then she'll pause and we'll have whole discussions about it, and she'll bring up things that I'm like, again, it goes back to that, God, I wish I thought of that before, because she'll bring up stuff and I'm like, oh, that's so good, like, and I sometimes I want to be like, hey mom, you want to see the newest episode before everybody else? We can We can talk about it. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't want to do those special privileges. I want to know as
I
everybody else
know
knows.
that's right.
So,
I know that's right. See,
but yeah,
my
it's been a good
my
time.
my wife, she listens on her way to work,
Mm.
and she'll come back to me and report, what she liked about it, or if she be like, that bitch. That was, or that bastard. Depending
Yeah.
on what the situation is, and it's really funny to see what she reacts to because I don't tell her anything. Like
Yeah.
sometimes she be sitting over in the corner and she can hear what I'm saying, but she
Mm-hmm.
for the most part she be doing her own thing, so she don't know
Yeah.
what's happening, what the context of the conversation is until she listens to the episode. And I don't tell her nothing beforehand. You got to listen like everybody else, baby. We need all these views, all these listens, all these interactions we can get.
Yeah.
Even in this household, we don't play the games, so it's been fun. It's been
Yeah, my
fun.
mom does the same thing. She listened to last episode and she was listening to the first scary story that I did about the wallpaper and stuff.
Mm.
And she's like, "Ew, ew." And then I came in here to like set up and I can just hear her yelling in the living room, "Is this real? Is this one of the real ones?" I
I
didn't
know
tell
that's
her.
right.
I didn't tell her.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but yeah, but outside of me personally, it's been it's been an entertaining week because I don't know if you've realized, but Brittany Spears, her memoir dropped this week.
It's been the talk of the
And
town.
it has been, I mean, even before the actual release, she's been obviously dropping sneak peeks and people have just been eating it up and they've been going anywhere from, a sympathy for her and lapping up all the information, but there's been like conspiracies as well because she's not doing any press for this book,
Mm.
and she's not doing any interviews. I think she did a cover for People magazine, but I don't even know if she did it or if she just gave them a picture from one of her vacations. But like even that interview was done through email. Like they couldn't do it in person. So, but yeah, some
I'm
juicy
low key
stuff.
like, well, shout out to her PR team for because it kind of feels like they're protecting her
Mm-hmm.
because the stories that have come out, this past week and change have been stories that she can really expound upon,
Mm-hmm.
past what she's put in the book. Because we've
Yeah.
all seen the excerpts that have started to come out, and it's like I low key appreciate them for doing that because I feel like if you put Brittany in the right place at the right time, homegirl is going to say it all, like
Mm-hmm.
to the nitty gritty, most detail of stuff. Even though she went there a lot in this
Yeah,
memoir.
I think she might. Honestly, I think it's a trauma based thing. I think after so many years of getting, granting these people the privilege to interview her essentially and getting these the most terrible questions, hounding her, trying to get a reaction from her, and then having it be put out where people make fun of her and people twist her words or something like that. I just think she just doesn't want to give that a chance at all. Like, here's a book,
Mm,
here's what I had to say, and that's it. Like, I don't want to expound on
mm,
anything. I don't want anyone to be able to trip me up or trick me or make me cry on camera again.
yeah,
Some people
yeah.
have said, I don't think she can do live interviews anymore. Like, maybe, she needs to have a script or something. I don't know if that's true.
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
think it's true because, I mean, we did hear her speak when she was trying to get her conversation. What is it? Conservation? I can't
Oh,
speak.
conservatorship.
Yeah, conservatorship. When
Yeah,
she was trying to
yeah.
get that, um, you know,
Revoked.
get
Yeah.
revoked, she had to speak to the judge, and granted she still did it through a webcam, but the audio of her speaking was released, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure, I know that wasn't right. I know she probably wrote down what she had to say and she was mostly just probably reading, but I mean, she sounded fine
Mm,
then. I honestly think it's just a trauma thing. I think she just doesn't want to give people the chance to have that that access to her without her being
Yeah.
able to control what's being seen, what's being said.
Honestly, I anybody that knows me knows why I'm going to make this reference, but this is really the Beyonce Knowles School of Media Training, right?
Mm,
Because at a certain point, Beyonce in her early career was like the media darling, you know,
mm,
until she got that first pregnancy and she saw how the media like really she only gave the media things that were revolved around her music. And then the whole, they're trying to say she faked her pregnancy thing. And
yeah.
then she cut the media off completely and
Mm-hmm.
has ever since,
Mm-hmm.
which I really, everything is through her. And she
Mm-hmm.
don't talk to us fans. She don't talk to
Yeah.
us. She just released a perfume this past week where she actually did an unboxing for the perfume. And we were
Mm.
aghast. Like, we were like, oh, she's talking to us. Oh my God. It was the first time in like damn near a decade she didn't talk to us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I appreciate Brittany for taking that approach because I saw that she said in the memoir, I think it had to do with her Vegas residency or something, where they were doing some type of event that was like kind of like last minute. She didn't really want to do it. I think the kid's name is Kalen Allen. Do you know what I'm talking about? He used to be on Ellen a lot. He used
Yeah.
to do reaction videos, really
Yeah.
popular. I think he was hosting it, and she referenced him in the book and was saying that she didn't want to do the event. It seemed very discombobulated because it was. She ended up leaving early, and she was like, and then they made me hug this random kid in a red hat, and then he tweeted today. I think it was today or yesterday. He was like, okay, so I was the kid in the red hat, and I wasn't supposed to host. He was like, Mario Lopez was supposed to host, but he ended up getting a foot injury and couldn't stand. So then they told me that I had to host the whole thing, but there was no script. So I had to wing it. And then, they just told me I was going to meet Brittany Spears. And then all I remember is that she told me that she liked my red hat. And then that the month, everything was over. And then you saw the clip of it happening, of her coming over, giving him a hug, and you could tell that she was like, "Who the fuck is this?" And then she referenced, like, she was like, "I like your hat," and then she immediately turned, walked down the catwalk directly to the Sprinter van, and was out of there.
I
Like,
have to look that up because I did not know.
oh,
I haven't
Crystal,
seen that. But
it
I
is
mean,
hilarious.
that's the same thing with the VMAs performance that she had,
Mm.
where she had it had been like maybe, I think it was less than a year since she had given birth. I think
Mm.
it was, I want to say it was like 2007. So it was after she had done the whole head shaving thing and all that stuff. But this was the first performance since then. And she was saying in the book she did not want to do it. She was not feeling it. She didn't like the choreography. She didn't like how anything looked, and she said that they forced her to go out there on there, and she said, I did the best I could at the time. But even then, she said, I could see myself up on like the big screens or whatever while she was performing. And she just kept saying, this looks horrible. She was like, my extensions look bad. I don't like the outfit I'm wearing. People are mad at me because I'm less than a year out from my second kid and I don't have 6-pack abs anymore.
Mm.
And and that was really just the start of the whole, what is it called again?
Conservatorship.
Conservatorship.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
so
to be honest, I Britney Spears wasn't really, and it's going to sound insane, but listen,
mm-hmm.
I'm a country boy. I'm a black boy who grew up in the woods of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I really had no reference of Britney Spears until I was older. She
Yeah.
just wasn't in my realm of music or anything like that. So a lot of the stories that are coming out now are enlightening me to stuff that happened. Like I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
about like that whole story that you just told. I had no idea about that, and I still haven't seen the video, but I
Mm-hmm.
saw the story that you were talking about, and I was like, damn, I didn't even know that happened. Like I did, low key, I might get this book. I
Right?
might get this book because I really like it was. I'm like, damn, she was going through some stuff. We haven't even
Mm-hmm.
scratched the surface of Justin Timberlake.
Look, and anyone who knows me, because this was my era. The Britney
Mm-hmm.
Spears, Christina Aguilera, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all that stuff. Like I was, you know, young girl, teenager, preteen type thing.
Mm-hmm.
NSYNC, and they still are. NSYNC is my boy band. Granted, Backstreet Boys had some hits, sure, whatever, but I was never a Backstreet Boys fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always all about NSYNC. And so I was all about Justin Timberlake at one point, but yeah, watching it's I am I'm as a woman, I'm happy he's getting all this shit thrown back at him, because
Mm-hmm.
when they pile all the stuff that he did leading up, or leading from, since they broke up, even to now. I mean, he really did ride the coattails of their breakup to essentially, because even if something wasn't necessarily about Britney, he kind of just went with it. Like, if people, like, what was it when his one album came out and the song "What Goes Around Comes Around,"
Mm-hmm.
I think Scarlett Johansson was the girl that was in the music video, but even though she was a well-known actress, she was still a blonde. And so people were like, oh, this has to be about Britney Spears. And he never went out and was like, no, it's not. It was just like, like, some of the things he said, and saying it knowing that it's not true, like the whole thing about her virginity, and how he's basically was implying, yeah, I'm the one who took her virginity, and he or she is like, nah, I lost my virginity when I was 14. I was doing this before you. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I just
It really shades an even, because I too am a Justin Timberlake fan
mm-hmm.
via Timberland, if that makes sense. I
Right.
very much, that whole Missy Timberland, Aaliyah, Genuine
Yeah.
era of the 90s is where my heart lies. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was before my time.
Right.
But I enjoyed it through retrospect. I know you were there for it. I know you were buying the cassettes when they were coming out. But
Fuck you.
but I really did enjoy, and still do enjoy, Justin Timberlake.
Mm-hmm.
But Justin Timberlake lost like 75% of my respect after the Super Bowl incident with Janet Jackson.
Yeah.
The way that was my first inkling into like how much he was willing to let the bus roll over other people for him to continue and prosper. And then you saw it repeated, like between, the Janet Jackson situation, the Britney Spears situation, the alleged stuff that was going on with his wife, current wife situation just a few years ago.
Yeah.
He, whatever's going to keep him in the right lane for him to continue his career is what he's going to do. And if that means throwing somebody under the bus, then that's just what he's going to do.
Yeah, like when you put all the pieces together, it definitely, I definitely see it that way. So while I'm still a fan of his, I still like his music, and I definitely love the NSYNC band, because I still think they're less problematic than some of the Backstreet Boys.
Well, the Backstreet Boys, you know what? I almost said something that almost got us canceled. But I'm going to just say, rest in peace to Aaron Carter.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, he wasn't a Backstreet Boy. It's his brother that's a Backstreet Boy.
Well, and I mean, the reference was, why is Aaron Carter no longer with us?
Right.
And allegedly one of the Backstreet Boys is a MAGA man. So it's just, it's very ghetto in them backstreet neck of the woods. So,
well, I was about to say, and one of them has been in court over the years for, not treating women right.
Allegedly.
Mm-hmm. So
that's why I was getting at with the Aaron Carter.
Yeah, reference. My band NSYNC, We ain't never had those problems. So our most problematic one is Justin Timberlake. And though he is very problematic, I'll give him that. It's not that Backstreet Boys problematic. So
No, I
don't
was
hate me
more
for
of
it.
a Blackstreet and
Right.
Jodeci, Drew
Mm-hmm.
Hill, Boys the
Right.
Men, New Edition kind of man.
I
So,
love Boyz II Men.
I really didn't get in them in sync
I was all
streets.
about the NSYNC. I had the posters and all that stuff. I liked Britney
You
Spears.
had
I
the
think was actually I
posters.
did. I
Wow.
I think Britney Spears was actually one of the first albums I got. It was, her first album. My mom, we were in the store and she was like, "You want this album?" And I was like, "Okay." I don't even know if I had heard her at that point. And then I was like bopping along to her and stuff like that. But
That's crazy. I
yeah,
kind of wish that I had, that I just didn't have NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Christina Aguilera, all of them. I did not have that experience. Not until I was much, much older. I was like, oh, these were artists when I was growing up.
right.
I really didn't, other than Lady Marmalade with who was it? Christina Aguilera, Pink, Maya,
And Lil Kim.
I think, yeah.
And Missy
That's
Elliott
when
for a little,
yeah. That's when I learned who the others were, and I was like, oh, okay, that white woman be singing. Christina Aguilera be singing.
She does.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad that Brittany is she's finally able to say what she wants to say. She's getting the tea out there because she really did protect Justin all these years. Because even in that one interview where the lady is like, "What did you do to him?" She could have very easily been like, "It wasn't just me."
Yeah.
But she never said anything specifically. She barely even alluded to anything. She was just like, she just took it. And so I just think she's been very unfairly treated through the years. And while I still like seeing some of the antics, the only time we get access to her really is through the internet. And a lot of time it's through the press, the very same people who, really tore her apart in the first place. So it's hard to really know what she's going through, but it doesn't always seem like the best. Like it seems like she does need some sort of help. I don't know. But if that's the case, if nothing else, I hope she's able to get some form of therapy or something from everything that's happened to her. I'm hoping she's able to heal. She's able to do whatever it is she wants to do. Maybe she can find her way back to music because she's got a huge and loyal fan base. There's plenty of artists out there who I'm sure would love to be able to work with her again and help her find that love of music. But Justin,
and that's not
you're getting what you deserve. You are.
And we're not even going to touch on, maybe we'll touch on that in a future episode when we know more. But this whole new husband that she had, that she's now getting a divorce from, that is a whole nother thing that we can get into at another time.
Yeah.
Because the writing, what was the name of Destiny's Child's second album? The Writing on the Wall.
Right.
It sounds, a lot of people saw that coming before it even started. So,
yeah.
Oh, Crystal, thank you for bringing that golden hot tea. That's celebrity tea. I know that's right. You ready to get into some true crime?
I am. I'm so excited.
A little true crime.
I'm feeling a little true crimey.
Yeah.
Let's get that true crime.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna start doing some shorter true crime segments. I don't know what this segment is gonna be called. TBQH. We'll come up with a name eventually, but
as a matter of fact, if you guys have a name, if you let us give us some examples, give us some suggestions. These are going to be true crimes that probably follow in length of like a Florida Man or even an Am I the Asshole story or something like that. So they're very short. So if you've got a nice little title we can name that segment, you let us know.
Yeah, just a little true crime nugget,
That's it right there. We're going to give you some true crime nuggets. Some nuggets.
You want to know what I truly think about when I hear nuggets? Goat poop.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think about.
I'm sorry. That's what I always call goat poop. or giraffe. Anyway, you know the little anyway. Um, so this true crime story today is courtesy of True Crime Daily. That name makes me laugh. Um, so thank y'all for providing this story. It's actually a story that I saw earlier in the week. So this gives a nice little synopsis. So the title of this article is Florida couple allegedly kidnapped man after date, slit his throat, and threw him into a river. Yes, ma'am. Escambia County, Florida. We are inadvertently back in Florida,
I
y'all.
was about to say, is this a Florida
This is
man story? Or is this a
this
true
is not
crime
a Florida
story?
man story. This is a true crime story that just so happens to take place in Florida because Florida is hell on earth. Okay. Officials arrested a couple this week for allegedly assaulting a man, stealing his car, and throwing him into a river. According to a news release from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, first of all, the counties in Florida, the wildest names. I don't
Mm.
know if they're like Spanish names or if they're like, I think like half Spanish, half Native American,
Mm.
all the names of the counties and stuff. I love it. Anyway, the victim and Natalie Foncesa met on social media and they arranged to go on a date. During the date, the victim and Foncesa allegedly, weird, y'all put allegedly there, went to her house where she introduced him to her uncle, Nathis Reynolds. The three reportedly drove to the victim's home and continued what the sheriff's office called an unorthodox date before leaving the house again. According to the sheriff's office, while they were on the road, Foncesa and Nathis both hit the victim several times and told him he was going to die. The pair allegedly stole the victim's shoes, phone, money, and car. They took him for everything he had. Foncesa and Reynolds reportedly took turns cutting his throat before throwing him over the bridge rail and into the Escambia River. Crystal, I know. Afterwards, the couple fled the scene in the stolen car, but the vehicle was later spotted on West 98 after it had been set on fire. The sheriff's office said that the male victim survived his cuts, but unbeknownst to our would-be killers, as well as the fall from the bridge, he managed to swim safely to the bank of the river and flag down a deputy for help. Nothing but God. Escambia County detectives arrested Reynolds and Foncesa on charges of attempted murder, armed carjacking, armed robbery, kidnapping. They were booked into the county jail on October 23rd. According to records, Fonseca's bond was set at $852,000, while Reynolds was set at $851,000. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's crazy that he was able to survive that. I, you know, that's amazing.
Amazing.
I feel for him for the trauma he has to be enduring from that, but to have survived that, uh, like
That's what I said.
I
That
know
was nothing but God.
that had to have been a shock to that murderous couple, and I'm wondering, is he the first one? Is this
Absolutely
a
not.
is this a thing?
Yeah.
Should they maybe look into that body of water and see if there might be others? Because that's just that's so heinous what they did.
It's insane. First of
I
all,
Yeah,
no, I'm not going to victim shame here because I'm
I was
like,
about to
what kind
say.
of unorthodox date was this? Like that was something I clutched my pearls like that. Unorthodox date? Ain't no way. But it is insane. The United States, the stories that come out of the United States get crazier and crazier. The lengths that people are going to defraud other people of their things
Mm-hmm.
is insane. Like you really can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody.
And this is a really good I don't know if that's the right phrase, but this is an example, men, because females, when we go on dates for the first time, when we're meeting someone we had never met, we take so many precautions because this feels like an everyday life for us. This something like this happening feels like something that we can have happen to us at any moment. It doesn't have to just be a date. It could just be us trying to walk to our car. Men, they tend to think nothing really bad can go wrong for them. These types of situations aren't going to occur to them, so they don't really take, like, why going to this girl's house and then seeing this uncle for the first time. A girl, she would have been gone by that point. If she had seen someone else that was not, nope, she would have left. She would have tried to leave. She would have found some way to get out of there. But
why am I
on the
meeting
other
your
hand,
uncle on the first date?
right. But on the other hand, she never would have. A lot of the girls, they won't be put in that situation because not only do we have a whole squad of people on standby for when we go on these dates. Like, we've got someone that we're texting, okay, I'm going to this place at this time and I'm meeting this person. This is the picture that they showed me. This is their number. I'm giving them all the information. Okay, I'm walking into the thing. I'll text you in this amount. If there's, nothing wrong, you'll hear from me. If there is something wrong, you might not hear from me. If you don't hear from me, call me, and then, I'm leaving at this place. Oh, we're going here. We're keeping people up to date at all times. We're not allowing ourselves into those situations. And I think men, I think they should take those same precautions, even though it doesn't seem as likely for you to have these types of things happen to you. I would still take those precautions just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, truly, honestly, I mean, I'm personally, this is just me. I'm not going to nobody's house. I'm not on the market. But if I was on the market, I'm not going to nobody's house.
Right.
We finna go, if we finna, if this finna go somewhere, this evening, we finna hit up the hotel. We finna have us a nice, continental tray in the morning. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to your house nor mine. Because I don't want you to know where I live at, just in case, I wake up the next morning, I'm like, damn, not here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't, that is way, 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 way too intimate for me for something so new.
Yeah.
Soon as you would have told me, hey, we finna go pull up on my uncle. No, you are going to pull up on your uncle because I'm going home. Like, this is the end of the night for me. I'm not meeting your family on a first date, and especially not if your uncle talk about, oh yeah, I'm finna come with y'all. Who was y'all? Because it can't be me. You're not coming with me. No way. So yeah, it's thank goodness he survived because he did not deserve any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, considering the fact that his last communication was with this couple, I don't know. I don't feel like they would have gotten away with it. I feel like it would have been traced back to them and the fact that they were the last people to see him. But still, I'm grateful that he survived. I don't think they were smart
enough to use like fake numbers or anything. Yeah. Like, if you saw the pictures of these people, it's giving very much crack cocaine.
Which is making me wonder, like, they didn't sound sophisticated enough for this to be an ongoing thing. So it might have been their first time doing something like this. Maybe this was that big act. Maybe they've done petty things here and there leading up to it.
I can see that.
But yeah, thankful for him for surviving. Okay, y'all. We are moving on to my story.
Come on, Crystal.
And I got a nice little Reddit story for you guys.
I know that's right.
So we are visiting the Reddit rabbit hole. Saying that slowly. More specifically, am I the asshole? So this is Am I the asshole for canceling the entire vacation when I found out that my stepdaughters deliberately hid my daughter's passport to get her to stay home?
Insane.
So, I've been married to my wife, Beth, for 5 years. I have a bio daughter named Jessica. She's 18. And I also have 2 stepdaughters named Monica and Leah. They're 25 and 28. Both are single moms and live with us currently. There's been issues about my stepdaughters asking my daughter to babysit the kids. Jessica didn't have a problem with it at first, since this is what she does to earn money, but since her stepsisters don't pay her much, she just refused to babysit. We worked this out by having my wife take care of paying for the babysitting. I planned a family vacation of 3 days and everyone wanted to go. However, both Monica and Leah suggested that Jessica stay home and watch the kids since Beth doesn't want her grandkids to come. They said it's because the kids are used to Jessica and hiring another babysitter would cause issues, and also said that Jessica isn't too fond of our destination. But it was obvious that Jessica wanted to go. They insisted, and Beth offered to pay her double, and there was just a lot of back and forth on this till I demanded that they stop bringing it up. We were supposed to go last week, but when everybody had bagged their bags and was time to go, Jessica found out that she didn't have her passport on her. We searched her bag, then went home and searched there. Beth and my stepdaughters kept insisting that we go back to the airport or else we'd miss their flight. They insisted that Jessica stay at home with the kids. They even told the new babysitter to go home because she was no longer needed. I refused to go and kept searching for the passport till Monica admitted that she helped Leah hide Jessica's passport to get her to stay home with the kids. I was livid. I tried to get her to tell me where it was, but she said Leah had it and Leah denied. So I threatened to cancel the vacation. That's when they gave it back. I decided to actually cancel the vacation and blew up at both of them and berated them. They stayed upstairs for a while, and Beth refused to speak to me and said that I punished my stepdaughters for worrying about their kids and wanting them to stay with someone they know. I got told I overreacted and ruined the trip for everybody. Editing to mention that kicking my stepdaughters out isn't possible since my wife co-owns the house that we currently live in. Am I the asshole?
No. Now let me tell you something. I knew Monica was trouble from the beginning. Don't no woman under 30-year-old have the name Monica. And if you are, bitch, you're trouble. Like immediately, as soon as I heard the name, I was like, so she's the source of the issue. Okay, Monica's 20. Okay, so everybody lives in the same house.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody lives in the same house. And what's the daughter name who be doing the babysitting?
Jessica.
Is Jessica Beth and the dad's daughter? Or is she just the dad's daughter?
She's just the dad daughters, and the 2 stepdaughters are just the mom's daughters.
The mom's, right. Mm-hmm. See why I don't believe in blended families? You see? This is it. Because when people hear that, they be like, Timmy, how can you say it? Oh, excuse me. T, how can you say it? And this is exactly why. Because at the end of the day, y'all aren't blood, and people are going to manipulate people in those situations. Because at the end of the day, girl, I don't know you like that. You just came right here 5 years ago. I have an alliance with my mama and my sister. That's where my alliances lie. And if I can get you to do what I need you to do, while you're in my life, then I'm going to do that. I was about to say something very bad. The dad is not the asshole. And the dad underreacted if it was me. Because Beth and I this would have been a marriage crisis for me. Especially if that's my daughter. And we all know that your daughters, I don't even know if it's manipulation, disrespect, evil. I don't know how to describe it. But the fact that they would go to those lengths to make sure that their children were taken care of at the expense of their stepsister, the selfishness of it is enough for me to be like, oh, okay. And then for my wife to turn to me and be like, how dare you punish my daughters for sabotaging your daughter's portion of the trip. Like, so you was in it. Like you were planning this with them.
Yeah.
Because you kept the secret too. You just lucky they didn't throw you under the bus. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and move my assets where I need to move them. I'm gonna adjust my paperwork where I need to adjust it. And me and Jessica hitting the road, Jack.
Well, he only answered 2 comments, one of which was telling some people that his wife co-owned the house, which is why the stepdaughters can't be kicked out. But someone did say, not the asshole, you don't just have a stepdaughter's problem, you have a wife problem. I would rethink your current family situation and how your daughter is being treated. And he replied, you're right. After seeing where my wife stands in this, I'm beginning to reconsider some things.
Absolutely.
One person
said,
I
also my first thought.
Yeah. Someone else said, I also thought, what the fuck am I reading? Cinderella? But one of the top posts, and this is a long comment, but it's a really good way to sum up. She said, wait until your wife and stepdaughters are out of the house and then ask your daughter to be honest with you about how your wife treats her when you're not around and how her stepsisters treat her when you're not around. If they were willing to pull this vacation bullshit, which your wife was clearly in on, I would bet Jessica is treated far worse than you think. No joke. This feels like a modern Cinderella story. Your daughter deserves better than this, and your loyalty should lie with her rather than your wife and stepdaughters. As someone who is dealing with something similar, this is the kind of thing where your daughter will end up cutting all contact with you. It's your job to protect her and have her back, and you are failing miserably at it by letting your wife and stepdaughters treat her like this. There needs to be immediate consequences for this behavior and some strong boundary settings, followed by actual enforcing these boundaries. Some possibilities. Everyone needs to apologize to Jessica. Jessica will no longer be available to babysit unless she freely decides to, with no coercion or bullying or guilt tripping or manipulating from anyone. So stepdaughters will need to find alternative childcare, just like every other single mom has to do. Jessica needs a keyed lock on her bedroom door if there isn't one already, so she has somewhere safe to retreat to. Jessica is only responsible for herself and her own needs. No cleaning up after other people, no taking care of kids. Nothing except letting her live her life as independently as possible given the situation. At minimum, wife needs to agree to marriage counseling. There needs to be a plan in place with concrete steps and timeline. If she doesn't meet them, divorce. If she refuses counseling or apologizing for her abhorrent behavior, divorce. If she continues to enable her daughters and treat Jessica poorly, divorce. And then you need to follow through on this. And then it just goes on to just a huge comment about what she feels this family needs to do.
Can I just say, this comment kind of opens a bigger door for me as far as, and I'm gonna prescribe it to a certain demographic. Late millennials, my age, and down, who qualify as millennials, and early Gen Zers. I think there is a issue with them projecting and prescribing things to situations that are kind of like, I've learned about these tools and I'm going to throw every single one of these tools at this situation, even if they don't apply. Because girl or person, whoever this was that commented, slow your roll. You got too much dip on your chip. Okay. This is way overboard. Like, we don't have to put no locks on no doors. Like, this is okay. Like, I say get a divorce in jest.
Right.
If you drank my Kool-Aid, divorce. Okay. I'm not serious. I'm not serious, when I say get a divorce. Hey, Zeus, girl. Person, slow up. Like, it's not all of that. Okay. You do have some valid points. Yes, he does need to reevaluate his situation with his wife because this is extremely problematic, but it doesn't rise, I don't know. I think some people get so stuck in the minutia of the situation and they want to make it ideal And sometimes by making it ideal, you make it worse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're not considering anyone but the victim. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where you could be creating victims in your
Yeah.
response. So comments like that, I don't like. I don't really, because that is an overreaction. You know
I
what I'm
do.
saying? But there are some valid points sprinkled in it. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. She had a lot of good, valid points. They may
Mm-hmm.
not need to go to such extreme. Like for me
Yeah.
personally, I felt he was defending his daughter. The fact that
Yeah.
I don't think he was failing miserably in this instance.
No.
He's doing exactly what he should be doing. He first of all, a lot of fathers would have caved to the pressures of three people sitting, let's just go, and been like, well, I paid for this, I spent this money, like,
Mm-hmm.
they might have even blamed the child, like, why didn't you put this in a safe place? You knew we were going, so the fact that he was like, no, we're not leaving until she finds her passport, like, we're
Yeah.
not going until it happens, everyone's going or nobody's going.
Right.
I felt like that was the perfect reaction for it. And then when he found out what
Mm-hmm.
they did, he yelled at them. We don't know what he said. We don't know how he berated them, but
Mm-hmm.
he did enough that they weren't coming out of their rooms for the rest of the day. And he
That's
even said
it.
in the comments, this is something that's making me reconsider my relationship. But that's
Mm-hmm.
something he's gonna have to decide. This might be something for him to, you know, be the thing that causes a divorce. But it might be something they can work out. We don't know. I do agree that a lot of times in these family dynamics, parents don't always know how their child is really being treated. So I think that's a good idea for him to take Jessica aside and be like, hey,
Yeah.
is this something that, isn't a surprise to you? Like, do they treat you nicely? Because I think, especially when they're older, because she's 18, I think sometimes parents, can get, um, can just, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to necessarily say short-sighted, but
You
they
kind of get
don't
jaded.
always, I don't know if it's necessarily jaded, but they don't always think to check in on their older kids about
Mm.
these blended
Okay.
families dynamic, to see
Yeah.
if everything is, if they're being treated nicely. You just think, oh, if they're not being treated nicely, that's just what families do, like it's no
Mm.
big deal. I think regardless of how old your child is, if you're in a blended family situation, you should probably make it a point to check in with your children and be like, is everyone doing good?
Yeah.
Nobody's being extreme. There's siblings squallors and stuff like that, but there's a difference between that and straight up bullying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah.
he, like you said, responded exactly like he was supposed to. He, dug in that ass,
Mm,
and he is reevaluating his relationship with his wife, as he should, because if it's not conducive to, making everyone in the family feel like a part of the family, then I don't know if it's worth, continuing or pursuing, if that's how you're going to treat a member of the family, because I have cut family off for way less than him. So,
right.
you
Like, just
know.
because you didn't want your grandkids, like, and it wasn't even like all of them.
Mm,
You're the wife was the one who was like, I don't want my grandkids coming. And I'm sure the other moms were probably like, oh great, yeah, I don't want to have to deal with the kids either for 3 days. But
mm,
for you guys to try to just throw it on the 18-year-old, no, especially since you found a babysitter. You had a babysitter. Obviously you
exactly.
trusted this person enough to watch them. So,
Mm-hmm.
and with her being 18, I mean, what's going to happen when she goes off to college? Is she even going to stay living with you guys? You don't know that. You should have a backup
Yeah.
in case that stuff happens. You don't know when emergencies well, you don't know what, she might get a boyfriend. She might, her friends might become more involved in her life. She won't
Yeah.
always have time for you and your kids. Like,
And it
I
is kind of
dislike
that.
it.
It is
I,
kind of the youngest. It is
I
kind of
know
the
we're both
youngest
trying.
child, right?
We're trying to
I
give each
think
other the space. Go ahead.
I think it is the youngest child thing, where they're like, you know, she ain't got shit going on, or she won't care. She could
Mm-hmm.
just do this for us. We're older. We've
Mm-hmm.
been doing. You know, I think it is a mix of that too, where they just aren't considering her at all.
Yeah.
And then they just went to the point of the extreme of manipulating the situation to ensure that she fell in line with what they wanted.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know what? People who have kids and they're whether it's, mom and dad and they have an older sibling, or, it's siblings who have a younger sibling, but they're old enough to babysit and stuff like that. Whatever the dynamic is, you guys need to stop thinking that just because you have these people in your life that they're automatically obligated to help you in any way regarding your children.
Yeah.
These are your children. You decided to have them. At the end of the day, it is no one's obligation but yours to have your kids be looked after. Not your grandparents, not your siblings, not your children. Stop trying to push off parenting to somebody else. You can ask and you can hope, but if they say no, you have to respect those boundaries, especially parents. Like, I understand older kids helping out when they can, but you should never expect it, because at the end of the day, they're your kids too. You can't just stop parenting this kid just because they can more or less function on their own for the most part.
Hey, you better Pastor Crystal that made 3 appearances in a row, y'all. Pastor Crystal she be going there. Do you hear me? Hallelujah.
I'm just saying, if you're one of those people out there that's doing this to your kid, your sibling, again, going back, check in on them and make sure that this is something that they're okay with. And if they're not, you need to readjust. Don't take it offensively. Stop trying to ruin whatever childhood they have left.
Just because little daddy be getting on your motherfucking nerves, so mean that he got to get on theirs too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Little Day is on you. When you laid with Big Day and made Little Day, that's on you and Big Day. Okay. Crystal, you think we got time for one more Am I the Asshole?
I think we have time for one more.
You think so? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We might as well get the people what they came for, right? So this one is entitled, Am I the Asshole for refusing to re-sign a lease weeks before leaving my pregnant sister homeless? Yes, ma'am. I, 23-year-old female, have an Irish twin, 24-year-old female. We've been living together for 2 years. She's a single mom of a toddler. When we first moved in together, the apartment was only in her name, and she let me live with her. I was finishing dental assisting school and couldn't qualify for an apartment on my own. I still paid half the rent and utilities. After graduating and getting a job, I became an official added roommate to the lease last year. I make a lot of money for my age, so when my sister was struggling to pay her half of the rent, when her job cut her hours significantly, it was a no-brainer to start paying more. I could easily afford all of the rent, so covering another 25% was nothing. I talk your shit. Okay. Plus, I love her and my niece. My sister has no help whatsoever from the father, so I help her as much as I can. He works under the table so he doesn't get his wages garnished for child support. I have watched her struggle to afford daycare and food for her baby, so I also help her with that as well. 2 days ago, my sister sat me down and tells me she has news. She's pregnant. My jaw dropped. I ask who the dad is, and she starts crying. I did not expect her to say her deadbeat baby daddy. Yes, ma'am. I was shocked, and she continued on with her explanation. She saw a girl commenting under his posts, and when she went to her page, she saw that they had taken pictures at the same place at the same time. The girl also posted him for his birthday weeks later saying, Happy birthday to my fiance. She messaged her letting her know that he's a deadbeat and got blocked. Then her baby daddy called her saying she was a crazy bitch, and that led to them getting a hotel and they slept with each other. All to prove some point to his fiance that he's not loyal and she can have him whenever she wants because she sent her proof after they slept together, but the fiance stayed with him. Girl. No, Crystal, listen, because the pearls was clutched. We're almost there, y'all. As she's telling me this story, I just sat there upset. I started asking her if she went to the doctor and how far along she was. She said she did stop by Planned Parenthood and got a scan. She's 9 weeks. We live in a blue state, so abortion is legal here. I told my sister that I wasn't going to be resigning the lease until she got an abortion. She looked at me with so much disgust and started crying harder. She called me an evil bitch and said that I'm a horrible person for making her choose between her baby and having housing. I told her with her hours, she can't afford even half the rent, let alone the daycare she splits between me, our dad, and aunt. So to understand the position she's putting me in, sense of responsibility is falling on me. She told our family and they're pissed, saying I'm being heartless to even ask her that and that I shouldn't punish her and I should sign another 6 months of the lease so she can get her shit together since 5 weeks isn't a lot of time. I said no, she's ungrateful for all the help that I've done, so I'm out. They're saying I'm an asshole since I didn't qualify. She let me live with her even though I paid half the rent. Crystal, what say you?
I'm a little bit conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do agree a little bit that it was an asshole thing to tell someone else that get an abortion or I'm not signing this lease. I don't think that's your I don't want to say necessarily that's your decision. I mean, it's your decision if you want to sign a lease or not, but putting that stipulation on, that's not your decision. Her having an abortion or not isn't that's her choice, you know. So you are essentially making her choose between having housing and having a child. Now, if I get it. You don't agree with the situation. You don't want to be in this situation. You don't have to be in this situation. You're 5 weeks out from the lease. You can totally break the lease, go off on your own. I will not find you an asshole at all. I do not think that just because she's family that, you know, you have to be the one responsible for her actions and her choices. I also think that maybe you could have sucked it up for 6 months and tried to give her that little bit of time to, you know, just sign a and let her know, look, this is, I'll sign this lease for 6 months because, you know, I love you, your family and whatever. I think you're making a huge mistake, but it's yours to make at the end of the day. You have 6 months to find other, because at the end of the 6 months, I'm gone.
Yeah.
That's something I would have done. That would have been my compromise. That would have been my middle ground.
No.
So I guess on the basis of, am I the asshole for making her, I guess I would have to say you are the asshole in that regard. But like your sister, holy hell. Why do these women
Yeah.
why do you even want these men that you didn't want? This man is a deadbeat. You tried to warn this woman, but then because she didn't respond the way you responded, why are you then like, I gotta prove it more? I gotta really hone it in.
And
so I'm gonna go sleep with him.
Not only did she prove it by sleeping with him, she sent proof to the fiance that she slept with him, which I can only assume is some sort of explicit video or picture or something, you know. So I can see being upset with her about how all of this happened. Yeah. Especially since she knows that she is not in a position to take care of herself, let alone her child who is with us on earth and another child on the way. Like, I can see where she's like, girl, you are on your own. Yeah. But, you know, seeing that she's only 9 weeks, right? She won't be having this baby before, right? Yeah, she'll be pretty close by the time, you know, the end of this. No, because she said it's 5 weeks from now, I guess, when the lease is up. Because they said 5 weeks isn't enough time for her to get
So
her
she
stuff
would be
together.
14 weeks
So
when the lease was up. But I mean, if you sign the lease earlier, does the 6 months start at
no,
that
I don't
point?
think the 6 months
No,
start until your lease
the
is up.
actual. But still, I mean,
So I
six
don't know. That
months,
reframes everything for me actually. Because that baby might be there by the end of their lease.
right. Well, but it sounds like there's a father somewhere in the mix there, and there's like there's other family that seems to be around them. I still
Yeah.
think 6 months is plenty of time for you to figure out whether or not you're going on your own, you're going to one of these other family members. I don't know. But I think that would have
Yeah.
been a good middle ground, a good compromise. But
But I
girl,
don't,
like,
because I was with you until I was like, wait. That baby might be there by the end of that lease if she 9 weeks and she still got 5 weeks left of this week lease, and then they gotta sign up for another 6 months. That baby will more than likely be there by the end of that lease. And then she might get guilted into extending it even more because she's gonna be even in an even worse place financially now that the baby is
yeah,
actually there. So she's
maybe.
like, I can see how she would be like, I want to get out now before I get mixed up in this and I become a part of this.
I
Because if the
think,
baby daddy is working under the table, he ain't even paying child support. Like, you need to go live with your daddy or your aunt today.
mhm,
You need
yeah.
to figure it out in these next 5 weeks who you finna live with, because it's not finna be me.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think I would have done the 6 weeks, but I mean the 6 months, but I think I would have put a stipulation. I would have let them know, like, I'll sign another 6 months, but it's not going to be 6 months for this situation to be handled. You
Mm-hmm.
have, you have to have it done before the baby is born, and I'm out, like, because I'm out, like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
choosing I'm making plans for my own situation. So I'm gonna go find a place. When I find a place, I'm gonna make whatever arrangements I need to, and before your baby is here, I'm out, I'm gone. you know I
Yeah.
would have found I would have found a way to allow them to
Okay.
have more time, if you know
I
what I
see what you're
mean.
saying. She's the sister don't the pregnant sister don't necessarily have to leave that apartment. She need to find somebody
Right.
to move. Okay, I got you. I
Yeah,
got
that's
you.
what I mean, like,
Because I'm thinking like, girl, like a new baby, or you about to give birth and you got to move. Like that's a
yeah,
lot. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because
I don't know. I
this
think I would rather pull the band-aid now
right.
and her figure it out than us kick the can down the road and you closer to having this baby or have had this baby and now all this is going on. Because what if you don't find somebody? Like, then they're gonna
Right.
be pressuring me. Look, you gotta stay because she ain't found nobody to live with her because she got this baby,
Yeah.
and she don't have nowhere to go. But you gonna leave your sister, her baby's homeless?
Yeah.
Damn. Like,
I mean, the sister was the one, this was her place originally.
yeah,
She moved
pregnant
in.
sister.
So, I would have told her, you need to I'm moving out. You need to find someone to either, you know, move in with
Yeah,
you, or you need to find somewhere else to go. I don't know. That's your decision. I'm moving out. I'm giving you my notice now.
yeah.
That's where I would have gone. But me, I don't know how everyone's different, but me personally, I would have felt guilty for the niece that I do have now if I'm trying to push them
Mm,
out in 5 weeks. That's why I
yeah.
think I would have tried to give them a little more time. I would have taken whatever burdens that was for
Mm,
me, because at the end of the day, I probably would be thinking about my niece as well.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's
I'm
hard.
with you though too. I don't fault for her for wanting to get out immediately either. I just
Yeah.
don't think the way she necessarily responded by
Mm,
giving that ultimatum, like, that's not, I don't think that's cool. But
yeah.
that
Because
sister is a mess. That sister is a
um,
mess.
it just is a foreign, and this is the last thing I'll say on the promise. For me, she's gonna have to figure it out either way. She's probably gonna have to end up moving in with a family member anyway because she's gonna have to find a roommate in them 6 months that's willing to pay 75% of the rent, if not more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because now the little bit of money that you were putting towards the rent, you got to put towards this brand new baby.
Mm.
I don't think them 6 months is gonna make much of a difference because you're not going to be working more in that
Right,
time.
right. Right,
You know,
true.
your job isn't going to give you more hours, you know, now that you're pregnant. So for me, it's an impossible situation for, you know, the sister who isn't pregnant because your situation isn't getting any better, you know, in
Yeah.
them 6 months that I'm giving you. So let's find let's find where you're going to land now because you're going
Yeah.
to land somewhere else. You're not keeping this
Yeah.
appointment. That's
Yeah.
that's that's a damn fact because
Yeah.
I'm paying all the bills in this home. So let's find where you're going quicker. And even if
Mhm.
it's not a permanent situation, a temporary situation, and then we can move on from there because I really don't see the 6 months making a difference.
Yeah, I can see that. I can understand that.
But I see I see what you're saying as far as, you know, allotting her that time in case things do, you know,
Yeah.
something does happen or she finds a different situation.
Yeah, because you never know. I mean, even in 5 weeks, your attitude can change. You know, you might soften towards her and end up.
Mm-hmm.
You never know with family where it's going to go. But again, this
Yeah.
sister's a mess. Like,
Yeah, child.
I can't,
But she
y'all.
is the asshole
Why?
for giving her the ultimatum.
Yeah, but
You
y'all,
can't get nobody an
why?
ultimatum like that.
Why do you go to these men that you don't want? I don't get that. Like, if it was me and you wanted to be dramatic, I would have sent her funeral flower arrangements and been like, condolences for you taking this man. Like, you didn't want to heed my warning, so I'm just going to let you know. Here's my condolences for whatever life you're about to lead with this man.
And
But
y'all
I
see why
never.
Crystal like bringing in petty peeve stories because I swear there's about 6 or 7 stories in that thread about Crystal.
I'm just saying, but I just don't. I hear so many stories of, and it's not just females, you know, of both
Mm-hmm.
men and women, where you're in a relationship, you break up, you don't like this person, you hate them, and yet when they try to move on,
Mm-hmm.
you're mad. Why
Yeah.
are you mad? You didn't want them. You don't want that mess. You don't want to deal with
Mm-hmm.
them. Why are
Yeah.
you mad that someone else is taking it on? You can warn them. I totally get that. Being like, hey, just so you know, I dated this person and this person, you know, I have a child with them and they're a deadbeat. But if they ignore
Mm-hmm.
you and they're like, whatever, screw you, just be like, hey, I'm
That's
just
on
letting
you,
you
player.
know.
That's on you.
And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna, you know, evil laugh because you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. But I would enjoy that
Yeah.
moment. I'm not gonna be like, oh, well, if you're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna listen to me, then I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go back to that person I don't like and sleep with them.
And sleep, not only sleep with them, get raw dogged and let him shoot the club up. Like,
Mm,
and keep the baby. You
yeah.
you have to, you know what? Do not sign that lease. Do not sign that lease. Do not. Oh my God. When I put everything back to back like that, you're not a responsible human being.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You are
No.
the asshole for the ultimatum you put her through, but you are not the asshole for wanting to get out that lease.
Not at all.
Good luck and
So,
Godspeed.
honestly. All right, y'all. That was our
Yeah.
episode
Yeah.
today. We hope you
Thank
liked it.
y'all. Yes,
Yeah,
thank y'all for listening. Crystal, I had a good time.
I did. Those are some wild stories.
We've been cutting up these past couple weeks. We gotta get it together. Yes, thank y'all for listening. If there's anything that you want to add to the conversation, anything that you all need advice on, anything you want to share, anything that you would like to comment on, any of these stories that you would like us to share on the show, make sure you send us an email at teandcrystal@gmail.com. That's teaandcrystal@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you all. If you would like to see our faces as we react to these stories, if you would like us to look you in the eye, make contact with you, make sure you'll all right, fuck it. Make sure you go over to our YouTube page by searching T and Crystal Podcast. We post sneak peeks over there throughout the week. We also post our full episodes. So go over there, show some love, interact with our reels, leave some comments, leave some likes, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you are always aware of when Crystal posts. You can also find us on the TikTok at Tea and Crystals Podcast, TEAANDCRYSTALS podcast. We also post all of our shorts over there. Go on Facebook. The Facebook be Facebooking. Y'all be over there talking to each other in the comments, explaining, your point of views on the different stories that we share. We really, really love to see that. We really want y'all to keep doing it. Go over there, participate in the conversation. We try to respond as much as we can. Crystal does. So go over there and talk to Crystal. And I will try to as well, but it's just a time difference. By the time y'all be commenting, I'll be asleep. So I'll be missing it. But I see it the next day, and I really do appreciate everything that y'all say over there. So go on Facebook and search Tea and Crystals Podcast. Also go over on the Instagram. All of our reels are over there as well. We would love to interact with y'all over there. We also have some anonymous questions that you all can find in the highlights of our Instagram page. So if you don't want to send us an email, you just want to send something anonymously. If you want some advice, if you want to give us a comment, if you want to tell us to go to hell, I don't care. Go over there on the Instagram, go to the anonymous portal in our highlights, and leave us some messages over there. I would love to hear it. Crystal, do you have anything to say to these beautiful people before we get the hell up out of here?
Nope. I hope you guys enjoy the show, and I hope to see you guys next week.
Hope to see you next week. Bye.
Bye.